California's Governor Gavin Newsom just went on a rant calling ICE scum, but what he's really hiding is far, far worse. LA's mayor is pushing cash for illegals, ICE agents are being shot at in broad daylight, and Iran just sent a direct threat to President Trump. You're not getting this from legacy media, so let's break it all down. This is the video that Newsom posted on his X account. In it, he said, "Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum." Now, I want you to notice him literally calling them as kids. That's going to be very useful for later. This was an immigration raid effort by ICE. And if you think that tear gas was too much, I want you to watch this very carefully.
Take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters. And again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. It looks like he fired at least a couple of times. We have not heard about any agents being hurt.
Yes, that is a man running away from ICE agents while shooting what looks to be a firearm at them, which really puts into perspective the language that Democrats have thrown at ICE agents these past few weeks.
Disturbed by things like alligator Alcatraz and feels like the targeting of certain migrants is making you really uncomfortable, call your lawmaker, because what I am seeing is an uptick in rhetoric against CBP and ICE enforcers who are dealing with this problem because they're being told by the President of the United States that they have to. And then this past week, there was a very dangerous attack on CBP officials in McAllen, Texas. Several people were injured. The perpetrator was actually neutralized. But that's also something we don't want to see, is an uptick in violence against law enforcement who are doing their jobs. So if you have a problem with this, talk to your lawmaker. That's the place to do it.
If they would do their jobs the way that I think they should be doing their jobs, which is unmasked without disappearing people from the streets, I don't think that the public would feel as endangered. Because if someone approaches my loved one who's undocumented with a mask, how do I know that they're actual law enforcement? How do I know that they work for ICE? So that's one thing I'll say.
There's actually people who have impersonated ICE officers.
But do they show an ID?
They don't show IDs. They're not dressed appropriately. They're not flagged, and they're masked. And so in my world, if you mask yourself because you don't want to be seen, because there will be a reckoning for some of the actions that actual law enforcement have done.
Representative Delia Ramirez also chose to join in on the ICE hate. But before we talk about that, if you're getting any value from this video, make sure to subscribe and like this video.
Attempting to come in, demonstrating and showing ID, our congressional ID in addition to our PIN. And while we're waiting forever there, we then have to walk to the gate with the barbed wire. Congressman Garcia has to talk to them through a hole. While we're all trying to look through a hole, when someone finally comes and approaches us, no idea who he is. No idea. When Congressman Garcia asks him who he is, unwilling to identify himself, but tells us that he has been told and advised by his supervisors to tell us to send an email if we want to come into the holding center. Members of Congress with the authority to be able to conduct unannounced oversight were told through a hole in a gate of barbed wire, send an email. I want to make sure that people understand that under Kristi Noem's leadership, ICE has spent billions of dollars, and now we're talking about sending people to Guantanamo Bay, again against the law. We came to the ICE processing center at Broadview to observe the conditions, and we were denied to do so. They don't want us to shine a light on the ways that they're abusing the power of DHS to violate our rights, undermine due process, and tear our communities apart. But you heard from my colleagues here, and I want you to look at the people here. We're not alone. We're going to continue to protest. We're going to continue to show up. We are going to exercise our rights of a democracy, because we will continue to fight for the democracy that we say we are in the United States of America. Not fascism, not authoritarianism. So let me just say to Kristi Noem straight to your face, because I've told you this straight to your face before, it is time for you to resign. You have a lot to resign. And more and more of us have continued to call for your resignation. And if you do not resign immediately, Congress will assert its authority with the next legal action against you who continue to break the law.
The Assistant Secretary of the DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, commented on this raid, and after that, I'm gonna show you exactly why Newsom is so interested in protecting these so-called fields.
After the worst, MS-13 gang members, Trende Aragua, highly sophisticated criminal gangs and criminal rings that can easily target our ICE enforcement officers. And the fact that the Democrats want to hand on a silver platter intelligence about our ICE enforcement officers and information tells you everything you need to know. But I do want to mention that marijuana facility raid, and that tells you everything about Gavin Newsom. The fact that he continues to vilify and demonize and attack our law enforcement officers when they actually went out and found that there were 10 children at that marijuana facility likely being exploited, potentially even being trafficked, because 8 of them were unaccompanied. We are trying to figure out how they got there. Were they smuggled? Were they human trafficked? And the fact that Gavin Newsom is trying to obstruct that is disgusting.
Yeah.
So there are criminals working in a marijuana farm, not to mention underage kids. It's bad enough that they're exploiting children for labor, but for them to work under such conditions, it's unacceptable. Jillian Michaels went on CNN to call out the state for putting kids in this situation.
Let's look at what just happened at the Glass House marijuana farm. Here's what people don't want to see. On the other side, they don't want to see people throwing rocks into the cars of federal agents. They don't want to hear that someone supposedly opened fire on them. They also don't want to learn that there are a bunch of kids there that are undocumented or unaccompanied, and they think this is crazy talk, and we should be focusing on that. For one thing, how did those kids get there?
Well, I just want to add one thing. We do have to go, but the UFW, the United Farm Workers, put out a statement about this. They said the UFW can confirm farm workers were critically injured yesterday during chaotic raids in Ventura County, California. Others, including U.S. citizens, remain totally unaccounted for. Many workers, including U.S. citizens, were held by federal authorities at the farm for 8 hours or more. U.S. citizen workers report only being released after they were forced to delete photos and videos of the raid from their phones. They also added that farm work is exempted from child labor laws. So
you're telling me undocumented?
I'm not saying the undocumented.
I'm not talking about the marijuana farm.
I'm not talking about the undocumented part, but according to this statement, in this country, not just at farm, not at marijuana farms, at all
semantics.
Farms.
Look at the reality of what we're talking about. How did an unaccompanied, undocumented 14-year-old in the middle of the day?
I believe that, and many people might believe, children should be subject to child labor laws.
Absolutely.
But it's true in this country that when it comes to agricultural work, they're not, and that includes marijuana farms. So the legality of their status is a separate issue, but the fact of children being there is not actually something that is necessarily illegal.
I have a really hard time believing
So there's that. So it's not unusual for there to be teenagers and working in a farm.
A 14-year-old can work at a marijuana growing.
It doesn't matter whether it's a marijuana farm or an apple farm.
A kid can't work at a bar.
It's agriculture. They're not smoking
if that's the law, that's outrageous.
They're cultivating it.
And here's what Gavin doesn't want you to know. The owner of this farm, actually a Democrat donor, specifically for California.
I just want to go back to the thing I was most concerned about in reading all of this today, and that's that these little children are found on these farms. I mean, are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little children to pick marijuana in California? It's like blowing my mind.
No, Scott, I think you're making a really, frankly, it's a very important point. I mean, the fact that young children, immigrants or not, are working on these farms, whether they're forced to because they have to make money for their families, or maybe they,
what if they were born here to do that?
Or for whatever reason. I totally agree that is something that we as a country need to address. But I think you have to acknowledge that there has been no effort made by policymakers, Republican or Democrat, to address the driving causes of that, which are the employers willing to employ these children. Who is employing a 16-year-old undocumented immigrant?
Yeah,
And
I
why
agree.
are those
I mean, one of the
questions not
farms
being asked?
that was raided, I read as even a Gavin Newsom donor. I think the governor of California should ask why you're doing these things. And I don't have a problem going after employers.
By the way,
I really don't.
I know you want to make it about California, but it's not about California.
Well, in this case,
there are.
Just as a side note here, Congressman Jimmy Gomez mistakenly said that this farm was a strawberry farm. Gotta love how these Democrats make up things on the fly. What they fail to realize is that they're only adding more fuel to the fire, which shows each and every American the truth, that there are issues that Democrats are desperately trying to hide from us, and these raids are exposing them.
Community, all these mixed status families, $8.5 billion of tax collection in California every year from undocs. $8.5 billion that we receive just at the state level of taxes. That was the last Pew estimate. So it's not insignificant. Backbone, I mean, it's half of our agriculture work. You care about farmers and ranchers? If that's what your number one go-to commitment, then you sure as hell should care about their workers. 41% of our construction workers, Texas and California have the highest percentage of their construction workers that would fall into that category. How the hell do we rebuild Altadena and Palisades? We're going to need a peak next year. We estimate about 70,000 workers. Without that workforce, ain't going to happen. You're struggling here. You imagine a peak there. So I think there needs to be a pathway for those folks as we secure the border, and we own that issue.
Do you feel that they're taking American jobs?
Not in Tulare County. Not in Ventura County. I don't know many people that want a job out there in those packing facilities. Mm-hmm. I don't see many people look like me jumping at those jobs. I just don't. Maybe there's some exceptions. I haven't seen the evidence of that.
Now, if you thought that Newsom promoting slavery and cheap labor was crazy, watch how LA Mayor Karen Bass wants to set aside a lot of money for illegal immigrants, even though we know for a fact that she hasn't done jack for many US citizens in Los Angeles. Besides that, she signed an order that demands federal agencies to provide them with details of raids in LA.
I just finished signing an executive directive which essentially puts all city departments and city leadership on notice to protect Angelenos, essentially from the federal government. Just think about that for a minute. We want to make sure that our city departments are prepared in case ICE shows up at their door. How are they to respond? We want to make sure, of course, that they abide by the law, but we want them to know their rights, which means that ICE can't come barreling into the library just randomly looking for people. They have to have a specific warrant, and if they don't, then they can't come in. We also are filing a Freedom of Information Act because we want to know who are these masked men and why are they masked in the first place? Why can't they show identification? Why are they driving in unmarked cars with tinted windows and no license plate? Why do they jump out of the cars armed? And why are they snatching people off the street? All of this needs to stop. But I just want to end with this. How ironic is it that I signed an executive directive to protect Angelenos from our federal government?
Can a mayor tell the federal government to do something like this? No. Then why sign it? Well, she's appealing to the emotions of the people. She wants to be the anti-Trump / ICE in this situation. But here's the bad news. That's not going to go well for them, especially with President Trump's order.
Yeah. President Trump has made it a priority. Secretary Newsom has made it known to the world that we're going to do our best effort to go ahead and recover those 300,000 children that are unaccompanied for right now. And here we are finding them. And it's not at a farm, like a lot of elected officials are saying, that we're shutting off, poor farmers that are supplying the food supply chain. No, this is a marijuana grow facility, and they have underage children working there. This is the key thing that ICE should be out there doing. The American people should be happy we're doing this. The governor should be happy that we are exposing these businesses in his state that are exploiting children. That is the key that we need to highlight on this one.
There you have it. ICE officers now have the ability to arrest anyone who attacks them because the violence has to end somewhere. Unfortunately, the violent rhetoric continues to roll, the same one that Iran has made against President Trump. Not only has a bounty been put on his head, but a former senior advisor to Iran's leadership says that a drone might hit Mar-a-Lago.
Well, Iran warning that a drone might strike Donald Trump while he's at Mar-a-Lago. Jillian Turner is at the State Department with more on this. Jillian, tell us about this.
Well, David, President Trump is now being targeted by Iranian death fatwas, including direct from regime officials themselves. Notably, this comes at the same time that Washington and Tehran now are trying to re-energize the Iran nuclear negotiations. Take a look at this pretty shocking commentary. It comes from an advisor to Iran's Ayatollah. He says Trump can no longer sunbathe in Mar-a-Lago because while he's lying down, a micro-drone might target and strike him right in the navel. So in addition to being really strange, this is not the first time the president has been on the receiving end of a threat like this. An Iranian assassination plot, you will remember, was uncovered just a few weeks before the now infamous Butler rally. Nevertheless, the president didn't sound overly concerned about this new threat when he was asked about it yesterday. Take a listen.
Do you think that's a real threat? And when is the last time you went sunbathing anyway?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I don't know. Maybe I was around 7 or so. I'm not too big into it. Yeah, I guess it's a threat. I'm not sure it's a threat, actually, but perhaps it is.
What do you guys make of all of this? Should illegal immigrants be provided a heads up before raids happen? And should US taxpayers provide more money to anyone affected by these deportations? Sound off in the comments below. If you got any value from this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We're hoping to grow the channel in order to find even more civic patriots on this platform. As always, thank you for your time. Talk to you in the next one.